This is KVUE News at 6.
Congressmen and their baseball coaches come under fire.
I felt like I was being hunted.
A gunman opens fire on an early morning practice for the Republican baseball team.
Was that guy been shot? Is he okay?
Texas representatives, their staff members, and even families caught in the crosshairs.
My son Jack got under an SUV, and he was very brave.
Tonight, new stories of their survival and what we're learning about the gunman. Good evening, everyone. I'm Quita Culpepper.
And I'm Mike Rush. 4 people recovering tonight after that shooting on the baseball diamond just outside the nation's capital.
Among them, a 2015 UT grad, Zach Barth, a legislative aide under Congressman Roger Williams. Williams and several other Texas congressmen narrowly escaped the gunfire, some taking shelter in the first base dugout.
When I got into the dugout, it wasn't 10 seconds. Then Zach had come running in from the outfield. And we landed in each other's arms. He held me, I held him.
Williams was one of 4 Texas congressmen at the field this morning. Kevin Brady left right before the shooting started. Mike Conaway, who represents parts of the Hill Country, was there too. And Joe Barton from North Texas, the manager of the Republican baseball team, was there with his 2 children.
We got, some of us were in the dugout, some of us were on the ground. I was behind the dugout. My son Jack got under an SUV, and he was very brave. My other son Brad was in the batting cage, and he also was very brave.
Barton and his sons are okay. Congressman Williams hurt his foot diving into the dugout for cover.
Williams staffer Zach Barth is out of the hospital tonight. He's a Longhorn who graduated a couple of years ago.
KVUE's Rebecca Trejo is live on campus. She spoke to Barth's former government professor who met with the young man just last month.
Mike, that's right. Zach Barth was very involved in politics even while still at school. His former professor tells me he was a great student who always had a thoughtful opinion. The two met last month when his former professor, Sean Theriault, brought his government class to our nation's capital, as he does every year. 2 years ago, Barth made the same trip that may have inspired him to continue his interest in politics.
Having Zach on the trip was great because he's very interested in politics. And he was a Republican, and as you can imagine, most of the students at UT are more liberal. And so it was great having someone that had not only a different opinion, but had a well-formed and educated opinion. And he is more than happy to mix it up with the other students, but of course always in a very respectful way.
Barth graduated as a magna cum laude. He was also involved with Pi Sigma Alpha, the National Political Science Honor Society, and Beta Upsilon Chi fraternity. UT released a statement today that reads in part, quote, "The UT's community's hearts go out to Zachary Barth. We are thinking of Zach and all of the victims, wishing them a speedy recovery." Live at the University of Texas, Rebecca Trejo, KVUE News.
Zach's father posted on Facebook this morning shortly after the shooting, quote, "We really appreciate your prayers and support for Zach and for us. We are blessed to be a part of a wonderful community both in Houston and D.C. Thank goodness for the police who were at the scene. It could have been so much worse." We also heard from Barth's sister earlier today outside the family's Houston home.
He went to the ground. Everyone kind of had dropped to the ground, and then he heard a few rapid-fire shots, felt himself get shot in the calf, and then he got up and ran to the dugout.
President Donald Trump today spoke highly of aides like Zach, as well as the law enforcement officers who eventually brought the gunman down.
Everyone on that field is a public servant. Our courageous police, our congressional aides, who work so tirelessly behind the scenes with enormous devotion, and our dedicated members of Congress who represent our people. We may have our differences, but we do well in times like these to remember that everyone who serves in our nation's capital is here because, above all, they love our country.
Police have identified the shooter as James Hodgkinson of Belleville, Illinois. That's just outside of St. Louis. Police and federal agents searched his house throughout the day today. Hodgkinson has a long history with police in that area, with several traffic citations and misdemeanor arrests, though court records show most of the cases against him were dismissed. Hodgkinson was a Bernie Sanders supporter, even volunteering during his presidential campaign. Senator Sanders spoke out strongly against the shooter's actions.
Violence of any kind is unacceptable in our society, and I condemn this action in the strongest possible terms. Real change can only come about through nonviolent action, and anything else runs counter to our most deeply held American values.
In the wake of today's attack, many are wondering if there could or should be more protection for congressmen and women. KVUE's Christy Millward spoke to Fred Burton with intelligence company Stratfor, and Christy, he said there will likely be some changes for how lawmakers are protected.
Quita, Burton calls this a game changer. He says people typically think of the president needing protection, but not all of the congressmen and women. He thinks protection agencies will likely come up with a new protocol when a group of elected officials are together, even if it's for something as simple as a baseball practice.
One thing I know for sure is that tragedy forces change. Bureaucracies don't necessarily change on their own. So there are going to be protection changes come out of this. And I think that hard questions need to be asked.
Now, Burton also weighed in on the suspect. Even though he's posted politically charged things on social media, Burton says that doesn't necessarily mean it's the motive behind the attack. He says when it comes to this type of tragedy, it could be a domestic terrorist attack or someone who is mentally ill. He feels it's just too early to tell. Live in the newsroom, Christy Millward, KVUE News.
Another Texas tied to the shooting today, former Stephen F. Austin baseball coach Donnie Watson, who helps coach the Republican congressional baseball team. He was on the field when the bullets started flying. We'll have his story tonight at 10 o'clock on the Night Beat.
In the past, 16 other members of Congress have been shot while in office. In January 2011, Senator Gabrielle Giffords from Arizona survived an assassination attempt in Tucson where 6 others died. She resigned from Congress and is now a vocal gun control advocate. Texas Representative John Pinckney and his brother were shot and killed on April 24, 1905, during a political event in Hempstead, Texas. 14 other Congress members were shot between 1978 and 1831. Most of them died.
Well, we got a week left of spring, but already feeling very summer-like. Temperatures reached the mid-90s across central Texas once again for today, a couple degrees above normal. So here's what it looks like outside over beautiful downtown Austin. Temperatures still very hot, 95 at Bersham, 93 at Camp Mabry. You factor in the humidity, feeling like over 100 degrees at this hour at Bersham and about that at Camp Mabry. So heat index values have been right around 100 or above 100 pretty much for the rest, or for the afternoon. 103 in LaGrange, 100 in Lockhart, 100 in Bastrop. So going through the rest of this evening, temperatures going to be dropping eventually into the 70s as we wake up for tomorrow. But it looks like we're heating up even more as we head towards the weekend. Of course, Father's Day lands on Sunday. We'll have that forecast coming up, guys.
Thanks, Nathan.